I didn't really watch any of these videos of people just losing their effing heads over low prices, but for Black Friday. But I'll cover a couple articles recently, that happened briefly. Black Friday shopping marred by shooting, clashes, and arrests. Shoppers got more than they bargained for beginning Thursday evening, as retail outlets across the U.S. opened their doors early for annual Black Friday deal seekers, predictably prompting an array of violent episodes from city to city. They said usually it happens on Friday itself, but in the past few years, or in the past years, however, an array of incidences in shopping aisles and parking lots from suburbs and major cities alike had already occurred by early Friday. Near Chicago, it says even a shooting doesn't stop Black Friday shoppers. So it goes on here and it says that it's tough to decide which part of the story is worse, the crime or the aftermath. It says that a police officer's arm became caught in a Pontiac Sunfire around 10 p.m. last night while chasing after a man who was allegedly part of a Black Friday shoplifting scheme at Kohl's in Romeoville. As a car dragged the officer quite a distance, its driver refusing commands that he stop. Police fired, hitting the driver on his left side in the shoulder area. Then there's this, apparently not bothered by 3 or 4 shots that were fired, nor the fact that the police had marked off a store entrance as a crime scene. Shoppers continued to do their thing inside, though some stopped to snap cell photos of the scene. California Walmart opens early and things get ugly. 3 fights ensue with 2 arrests. They said it sounded like a reasonable idea in theory. A Walmart in California, Rialto, it was scheduled to open at 8 p.m. on Black Thursday, decided to open its doors about an early after observing that there were already 3,000 people in the line. But it didn't go so well, as police say the early opening led to what the San Bernardino Sun describes as a melee. 2 fights occurred just after 7 p.m. in the store over items, while a third fight involving 3 people outside ended with an officer sustaining a broken wrist. So there were some tensions that flared up in reference to people cutting in lines, says police. So, this is how it is, right? It's about, I was mentioning it's about a time is supposed to be about giving, and really it's about taking low prices, just doing whatever you can. But like I said, it's about vampirism, and this is how the system works. It's like a social economic system of control. I mean, this is pretty obvious to you guys, but you can actually see it when it takes place. You have the people at the top, corporations, and that make a killing off this, and it's bought mostly with credit. So these people don't really have the money to pay for it, so they're going to pay for these products plus more. So even though they're saving stuff, they're paying for it with credit that they probably shouldn't be doing. But that's their way of showing people that they love them. So it's not about just family or love or whatever. It's about how many gifts can you give and how much can you spend on other people to show your love for them. Show your love by buying things. Celebrate how thankful you are for things by stuffing your face. So it's kind of like a splurge, right? Like that movie, The Purge. Someone mentioned the Common Board. It's about allowing people to just get it out for a short period of time. Because normally, they can't afford stuff like this, or they can't afford it. So just imagine if, this is just iPhones and PlayStations, video game consoles and whatever. Just imagine if this was water and food, or gasoline. So yeah, you have all these companies, Best Buy, and then the products that are selling them, Apple. They're sucking all the energy out of the workers that produce these things, that sell these things, that stock these things at Walmart. The people that work for them, they're having their energy sucked to pay, if they have the money to pay the credit card or to pay for these products that are usually, like I said, overpriced. And all the profits get sucked up to just a few percent of people, and they just sit there and they watch people as they act like animals over these things. Bell ringer, basically Salvation Army. Bell ringer helps a grandma, and a thief steals a donation kettle. Police say that someone stole the Salvation Army kettle from a bell ringer who left his post to help a grandmother and her 4 grandchildren get through the double doors at the shopping mall in North Carolina. So when they returned the kettle and the $50 in it were gone. But in positive light, the store manager put $100 in the replacement kettle. A church group has been kicked out of a public park for handing out Thanksgiving dinners to the homeless. I posted the video itself, so you can go there and check it out on my channel. But in Florida, they're kicked out of a public park Thursday afternoon after a park ranger spotted them feeding homeless residents. So I just covered this too on Wednesday. There's one article that was specifically about this. They were advising people to not feed the homeless or not help the homeless. It was on Fox News saying you're an enabler if you help the homeless. This is what they promote, though. You know, if it's like teenagers beating up, throwing rocks, or burning homeless people. A dead serial killer suspect ingested Ajax. Well, that's pretty weird. That wasn't actually the title of it, but they changed it. But anyways, this is a California man believed to have been the serial killer. He stalked homeless people in Orange County last year. He died yesterday after being found vomiting in his prison cell. He was a 25-year-old Iraqi veteran. So he's yet to stand up to trial for the stabbing murders of 4 homeless men he apparently picked at random, along with a mother and a son that he actually knew. His family said he'd been kind and generous to the homeless, but prosecutors painted a different picture, saying he saw the homeless as a blight on society and had set a target of 16 murders. Yeah, actually, that's what that theme we were talking about, remember? On Wednesday, euthanizing the homeless. But that's how it's worked. That's how we fix things in the society. It's about treating the symptoms and not the cause, right? The disease. So instead of making the way we trade and live and produce and consume more democratic or more efficient, instead of doing that and getting these people jobs and making them useful, you know, that's what we do. We kill them. So eliminate them, kind of like with cancer. Just irradiate it. You know, you didn't win. You didn't defeat cancer. The cells are you're always going to have cancer cells, and they're going to grow back. It's a constant struggle. Walmart ejects a customer for filming violent Black Thursday mob. So there's a video in there. It's from Blacklisted. You type in that headline and you can probably see it. But yeah, so ejected for filming this madness going on. Black Friday protests demand improved conditions from Walmart. The nation's rallies are held for increased wages, full-time jobs, and an end to retaliatory practices from the largest U.S. private employer. Again, just going off what I said. These people, these 4 Waltons, the Walton family, they're one of the richest families. I think they're one of the richest in the United States. But so they're pretty rich as far as globally. And this is what I was talking about. So most of the wealth in a few hands here, and these. But this is, you can't ask these people who have profited so much from the system, have invested interest to keep the system going, to somehow throw you a few scraps, throw you a few bones. The system needs to die out. The system needs to collapse. So, and it has to change. And so people, will say, well, it's redistribution of wealth. And actually, that's the dude right there. I think Russell Brand. He was talking about everyone bashing about being socialist, but the one thing that he said that was messed up was about redistribution of wealth. And so that's where it's messed up, because it's about redistribution of power. You want the power in the hands of the people, as they say. And it sounds really trivial and cliche-ish and overused term, but power to the people, right? And that means mostly labor. That means people who work have a choice. So, but you got to have capital in the system in order to start all this, and that means you have to have debt. And those who control the issuing of debt are going to run the show. And that's the banks. The person that actually works or produces things and that, he's the one that really has the power, because he has the power of his time and his energy or his skills. So yeah, I mean, you think these Walmart people are going to help them? Like I was saying, they had the food donations and stuff like that for their own people, for their own employees, instead of just raising the wages. No, they're not going to do that, because to them, this system is moral. It's a moral system, and it's good, and And so exploiting people is fine because they're just capital, right? They're human capital. That's why I have human resources department. They're just a resource. You're a tool to be employed, as was said in one of the recent Hermit Cave videos. Billionaire bunkers. So we're talking about The Purge, that movie. Beyond the panic room. So home security goes sci-fi and Hollywood Hills. But it goes on here and it says it's more common with the NSA headquarters than with other contemporary homes. They don't need keys, they don't fear earthquakes, and they have biometric recognition software. They have steel reinforced concrete that burrows 30 feet into the hilltop. Sleeps easily at 2,500 square foot within a home, a ballistic-proof panic suite that they refer to as a safe core. So it sounds futuristic and sci-fi, right? Like fake. Well, this is reality, so welcome to it, right? As the wealth-income gap improves, you're going to have those that are the haves and those that are have-nots. So it says here that they've made it available to deep-pocketed owners whose peace of mind comes from knowing that their sensors can detect and adjust for, say, a person lurking in the bushes a half-mile away. So they created software that merges facial, voice, behavioral recognition technology into a keyless entry system. It transforms you into the key for your building in under 2 seconds. It says if you saw this stuff in a movie, you would think it is all made up. There's a Florida man who has a $10 billion plan to build a floating city for the wealthy. It's a live project again, so again, this is kind of like the other movie, Elysium. Those are all common themes. It's in one of those pictures, those art murals from Bank of America. It's still on my website there, where the elites are hovering above as the chaos ensues below. Even in that movie show, Serenity, they have these floating cities, actually, for the elites. The ship will be 25 stories high, over 1 mile long, and a feature in an airport to ferry passengers and residents on and off the boat. Noam Chomsky says modern universities designed to deprive you of your freedom, and his explanation is there's no economic basis for high tuitions. One of the very negative aspects of the sharp tuition rise is that it entraps students and deprives them of their freedom. If you're going to come out of college with $50,000 of debt, you're stuck. You can do things that you wanted to, like maybe you wanted to become a public interest lawyer helping the poor. You can't do it. You have to go to a corporate law firm and pay off your debt. Then you get trapped in that. He said one of the main effects of the sharp increase in tuition is just indoctrination and control. Talking about technology and the internet, he said it's like other technology can be used to liberate, learn, to study, or it can be used to divert people to meaningless activities, to indoctrinate them, to overwhelm them with propaganda, commercial or political. And NYPD is sending out gun confiscation letters to law-abiding citizens, ordering them to surrender their firearms. It says who is not receiving the letters? Gangbangers with illegal guns. A 15-year-old's been charged with terroristic threats after lighting toilet paper on fire. Police say that the 15-year-old freshman boy faces a second-degree criminally negligent degree terroristic threatening charge, a felony, after he ignited a roll of toilet paper in the bathroom of the West High School Wednesday morning. Under Alaska law, a person causing the evacuation of a building can receive the terroristic threatening charge. So I wonder if that applies to the police departments and the schools that run all these drills, right? That evacuate people. Texas boy has been tasered by officer after breaking up school fight. He remains in a coma. The sheriff's deputy tasered him without cause following a skirmish in the highway. So it says here, immobilized by the taser, he fell and struck his head on the floor, at which point I believe this police officer handcuffed the unconscious boy, 17 years old. They delayed in calling for medical assistance, even though he was in an obvious emergency situation. Eventually, the school officials called EMS. He was airlifted to the hospital, where immediately underwent surgery to repair a severe brain hemorrhage, placed on in a medically induced coma. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the story of the a student that tried to stop someone on the bus from either pulling a knife or a gun and ended up getting suspended. Yet at the same time, they'll hold these drills on these buses. They had one recently, an active shooter on a bus, you know, and they actually had people, students, and all that faculty act as if they were a crisis kind of actors. You know, they're going to play like they were dead or shot. They're not going to actually, and they teach people to just duck and cower and don't do anything. Wait for the cops. Wait for the state to come help you and protect you. You know, it's like I said, it's like treating treating the symptoms and not the cause. What causes an active shooter? What in society is sick?